Mental Illness album. Mental Illness is the ninth studio album by singer-songwriter Aimee Mann. It was released on March 31, 2017, by SuperEgo Records. Mann described it as her saddest, slowest, and most acoustic album. The album won the 2018 Grammy Award for Best Folk Album. Recording. Goose Snow Cone was inspired by a photo of a friend's cat Mann received while on tour in Ireland. Patient Zero was written following a meeting Mann and her husband, Michael Penn, had with actor Andrew Garfield, who had recently arrived in Hollywood. Mann said Garfield was obviously kind of freaked out about the vibe of being in that rarefied movie star atmosphere. So I wrote a song inspired by that. Mann wrote Can't You Tell with President Donald Trump in mind, who she described as repugnant. Jonathan Calton co-wrote Patient Zero, Good for Me, and Roller Coasters, while John Roderick of The Long Winters co-wrote Poor Judge. The bulk of the album was recorded on Mann's label, SuperEgo Records, by producer Paul Bryan at Mayberry PCH Recording Studio. The string arrangements were arranged and conducted by Paul Bryan and recorded separately at United Recordings Los Angeles by Ryan Freeland. Mann said her manager had pressured her to create more up-tempo music, but she resisted, explaining, because emotional honesty is uplifting, and it doesn't really matter what the emotion is, it's just uplifting. So that's how I approach it. Writing these songs is never depressing for me, and I don't think you can write out of a position of depression anyway. Release. The first single from the album, Goose Snow Cone, was released on January 17, 2017. On March 27, 2017, Mann performed the song on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. A second single from the album, entitled Patient Zero, was released on March 8, 2017. The music video features actors Bradley Whitford, Tim Heidecker, and James Urbaniak. Artwork. The album's cover artwork is by visual artist Andrea Desso. Critical reception. As opposed to her previous album, Charmer, which was defined as a solid, punchy pop rock album, Mental Illness consists of acoustic guitars, strings, and percussion. Ryan Bray from Consequence of Sound defined it as the musical equivalent of washing your mouth out with soap, and stated that it smacks of cold reality. Ryan Reed from Rolling Stone magazine described it as sad and folky. Katie Rife from the AV Club pointed out that Mental Illness is a continuation of Aimee Mann's historic tradition of chronicling life's disappointments, both simple and profound. Mojo writer James McNair described it as intimate and reflective, and said that it is easy to get lost in. Steve Horowitz of Pop Matters wrote that Mann is our modern-day Dory Priven, whose whip-smart sensibility suggests intelligence and mania at the same time. Craig Dorfman of Paste declared that Mann has earned her reputation as a master songwriter. John Perles of the New York Times stated that on Mental Illness, Mann is tunefully tracing elegant despair. Maura Johnston of the Boston Globe wrote that Mann crafts a melancholic atmosphere that is worth repeated listens. Greg Kot of the Chicago Tribune declared it as one of Mann's sparest, quietest albums, and also among her most beautiful. Alan Rabel of ABC News articulated that this record is firmly planted in mature soundscapes, that you may find yourself getting lost in this album's sonic textures, and that with Mental Illness, Aimee Mann continues to be one of the most gripping storytellers writing music today. G.W. Dunphy of Popdos notes that while the music in Mental Illness is gorgeous, this isn't a feel-good album. But, for those in the right frame of mind, it's a warm, plush comforter to crawl into when the self-pity stops working. Tour. Mann announced the tour, along with the album itself, on January 17, 2017. The tour encompasses performances all around North America, featuring one show in Canada, the rest taking place in the U.S. The first tour date was April 20, 2017, and the last 2 months later on June 30, 2017. Along with Mann herself, The tour features Jonathan Calton on acoustic guitar, Jay Bellerose on drums, a string quartet, Jamie Edwards on piano, and Paul Bryan on bass while singing backup vocals. Many of the musicians who played on the album also joined Mann on the tour. See Personnel. Awards and nominations. On January 28, 2018, the album won the Grammy Award for Best Folk Album. It also won Best American Roots and Folk Album at the 2018 Atwell I Am Liberal Awards. Track listing. The Japanese edition of the album has an additional bonus track, Throw You Over. Personnel. Aimee Mann lead vocals, bass, acoustic guitar, percussion. Paul Bryan producer. Ted Leo background vocals. Paul Bryan bass, background vocals. Jonathan Calton acoustic guitar, background vocals. Jay Bellerose drums, other percussion. Jamie Edwards piano, harmonium, acoustic guitar, 12-string guitar. String section. Quartet. Eric Gorfain violin, Marissa violin, Lee Katz viola, Richard Dodd cello. Violins. Amy Wickman, Gina Kronstadt, Terry Glennie, Ray Dupipte, and Susan Chapman. Violas. Aaron Altman and Rod Neuwirtz. Cello. John Provozo and Peggy Baldwin. Charts.